the atmosphere gets thinner the higher you go. At sea level, air is dense enough to create significant drag, a constant resistance that the engines have to fight through just to maintain speed. Climbing to around 35,000 to 40,000 feet puts a plane above most of that dense air, which means less drag, less fuel burn, and faster travel times. Which raises the obvious question, if thinner air is better, why not go even higher? The engines are the first reason. Jet engines work by pulling in air, compressing it, mixing it with fuel, and igniting the mixture. Less air means less oxygen, and less oxygen means the combustion weakens. Above roughly 40,000 feet, the air becomes too thin for a standard jet engine to sustain the thrust needed to keep a commercial aircraft flying. The engines are simply physically not able to go any higher. The wings are the second reason, and they create the most dangerous problem of all. Wings generate lift by moving through air and pushing it downward. The resistance of the air against the wing is what keeps the plane up. In thin air, that resistance weakens, so the plane needs to fly faster to compensate and stay airborne. But flying faster in thin air creates its own problem, which leads to one of the most feared situations in aviation, the coffin corner. Here is what happens. As a plane climbs higher and the air gets thinner, it needs to increase its speed just to stay in the air. But at a certain point, going faster causes the airflow over the wings to become so rapid that it briefly turns supersonic in certain spots, even though the plane itself isn't flying supersonically. When that happens, the airflow separates from the wing surface and the wing stops working. The plane pitches violently downward in what's called a mark tuck, and recovering from it is extremely difficult. So at extreme altitude, the plane is caught between two walls. Fly too slowly and it falls because the thin air can no longer support it. Fly too fast and the wings stop working because the airflow becomes uncontrollable. At 40,000 feet, the gap between those two walls is manageable. Go significantly higher and that gap narrows to almost nothing, giving the pilots virtually no room to maneuver safely. However, some aircraft were built specifically to operate beyond these limits. The Concorde cruised at around 60,000 feet, roughly 20,000 feet above a commercial airliner. By flying supersonically, its speed was high enough to generate the lift needed even in extremely thin air. Military reconnaissance aircraft like the U-2 and the SR-71 Blackbird flew even higher, with the SR-71 reaching above 85,000 feet. But these required entirely different engine designs, pressurized suits for pilots, and engineering that made them extraordinarily expensive to build and operate. Click the video on your screen right now and I'll explain another everyday mystery you've wondered about your whole life but never thought to look up.